David Muir, ABC's World News Tonight, America's most watched newscast. Now streaming same day with all the breaking news of the day on Disney Plus. Most watched, most trusted. Now on Disney Plus every night.
Tonight, the breaking news on this Friday night, nearly 200 million Americans bracing for this major storm, heavy snow, dangerous ice, freezing rain, and brutal cold. At least 17 states already declaring emergencies tonight. The massive storm building in Texas and Oklahoma, stretching 2,000 miles across the South into the Carolinas, right up into the Northeast. Washington, D.C. to Philadelphia, up to a foot of snow possible in New York City and Boston. And because of the ice, millions told to prepare for possible power outages. Then the dangerous, life-threatening cold coming in across much of the country right after this storm. Lee Goldberg has the forecast, the potential ice and snow totals, depending on where you live, and we'll go through it. Also breaking as we're on the air tonight, a massive protest now underway at this hour against President Trump's immigration crackdown in Minnesota. Tens of thousands in the streets, hundreds of businesses shutting down, closing in protest over ice. Tonight, one of the FBI's most wanted now under arrest. Alleged drug kingpin and former Canadian Olympic snowboarder Ryan Wedding captured, surrendering to authorities, accused of shipping tons of cocaine into the U.S. More than a decade in hiding, and where he was finally caught. Tonight, President Trump igniting a firestorm with America's closest allies after the president said the U.S. has never needed NATO, saying of the war in Afghanistan after 9/11 that they stayed, quote, a little off the front lines. More than 450 British soldiers died in Afghanistan, what the British Prime Minister is now saying tonight. This evening, the arrest after a judge and his wife are shot through the front door. Now we learned one of the suspects was allegedly at their door days earlier, saying he had a food delivery. They said they didn't order any. Authorities say he came back days later and then shot right through the door. Police investigating the killing of a former NFL player found dead at a homeless encampment. Alarming video tonight showing a UFC fighter collapsing, falling face first just seconds after his weigh-in. And tonight, 4 days after winning the national championship, college football star Fernando Mendoza and what he's revealed.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening. We begin tonight here with the breaking news. Governors in multiple states at this hour warning millions of Americans of a catastrophic winter storm just now starting to hit. At least 17 states declaring states of emergency already tonight. Heavy snow, dangerous ice, freezing rain, and then life-threatening brutal cold moving in. More than 180 million people under alerts. The massive storm building in Texas and Oklahoma, stretching 2,000 miles across the South into the Carolinas and then up the coast into the Northeast. Washington, D.C., Philadelphia. In New York City, city officials tonight are preparing for up to a foot of snow. Authorities warning of dangerous driving even before the storm. Dashcam video showing a driver losing control, crashing on I-70 in Belmont County, Ohio. Philadelphia loading plows and sanders with salt tonight. The city declaring a snow emergency. Drivers urged to stay off the roads. It's going to be a dangerous mix of freezing rain, ice, and snow. Thousands of flights already canceled tonight right through tomorrow. They are expecting some airports to close down entirely for hours on Sunday. From New York to Texas tonight, a familiar scene playing out. Customers lining up at grocery stores. This image here in New York, stocking up on supplies tonight. Stores across the country now with bare shelves. Lee Goldberg standing by to time this out. The potential ice and snow totals depending on where you are, and we'll take you right through it. And ABC's Morgan Norwood leading us off tonight from Dallas, where the system is just getting started tonight.
Tonight, that powerful winter storm threatening more than half the country, set to slam millions with heavy snow and crippling ice. Authorities warning families to take this seriously, from New York all the way down to Texas. New York Governor Kathy Hochul tonight.
This is a very dangerous combination of heavy snow and extreme cold temperatures.
New York City bracing for what could be its biggest snowstorm in nearly 5 years, up to a foot possible. Epic lines at grocery stores, parts of the South bracing for potentially catastrophic impacts, up to an inch of ice possible. Fears of more crashes like these in Belmont County, Ohio this week. Tennessee Governor Bill Lee sounding the alarm.
We all know that there is a very serious winter storm coming. Snow, sleet, ice, freezing rain. Very dangerous conditions.
In Texas, road crews out in force. And here in Dallas, brine trucks, sand, cones strategically placed under major overpasses so road crews can quickly respond as conditions worsen. Officials warning the ice could knock out power for days.
We're going to monitor all of the impacts to the electric grid.
Utility teams racing into the storm zone ahead of expected widespread power outages. And right after this storm, brutally cold temperatures sweeping in from the north across most of this country, expected to last for days. Our Alex Perez is in Chicago.
Here near Lake Michigan in Chicago, you can see the water is completely frozen over. The Midwest in a deep freeze. The feel-like temperature in some spots 30 to 40 below zero.
That brutal cold will soon spread across the country.
And David, with this nearly 2,000-mile wide storm already developing, the rain is here in Dallas, and the big concern is temperatures plunge overnight. Everything, these roads, will turn to ice. David?
And very quickly, Morgan Norwood leading us off here. Morgan, thank you. Let's get right to WABC Chief Meteorologist Lee Goldberg back with us tonight here. Hi, Lee.
Hi, David. This is no longer a potential storm in a computer model. We are now underway with icing across Texas. More Americans than not under some type of weather alert, cold weather alert to ice storm warnings. Look at the winter storm warnings all the way from Texas over to New England. We're getting snow in Lubbock. It's freezing rain west of Abilene, rain in Dallas going to wintry mix. Over the next 24 hours, we're going to watch this go from the southern plains through the mid-south, dangerous icing to Dallas, over to Tupelo, then into the Carolinas, snow to the north, Louisville. You can see as we go into Sunday morning, heavy snows in D.C., knocking on the door in New York, heavy snows in the interior northeast, and then up to Boston, and then that mixing that could cut down totals along the coast. Let's get to the totals. Half-inch of ice could be very damaging from places like Dallas all the way to Nashville, crippling potentially, and then the snowfall totals, up to a foot of snow from the deep south all the way into interior parts of the northeast. D.C. and Philly, 8 to 12 inches, up to possibly New York as well. Boston gets over a foot, and then we see the bitter cold that lasts for days and days after. David?
Lee Goldberg with us all week long here. Lee, thank you. And as I mentioned off the top, many airlines already canceling flights tonight. Some airports, in fact, could close entirely for hours by Sunday. Here's Whit Johnson on that part of the story tonight.
Tonight, U.S. airlines bracing for what could be the worst weather-related travel nightmare in years. More than 2,000 flights already canceled for Saturday. This map showing more than 24 airports across nearly 20 states will be impacted by the monster storm and dangerous ice. And officials expect complete airport closures on Sunday, lasting for hours. This evening, all major airlines at Oklahoma's Will Rogers International canceling flights. Most airlines offering to waive rebooking fees, urging passengers to change travel plans.
Didn't want to take any chances.
Exactly.
Karen Cummins grabbing an earlier flight to Orlando, rushing to beat the storm.
I don't even want to have the anxiety of wondering if I'm going to get out tomorrow, so I just took that out of the equation. I booked my flight today.
And when the snow does start to fall, it's estimated major airports will spend more than $30,000 an hour to keep the runways plowed.
And David, after this massive backlog of flights, experts say it could take days for the airlines to recover, with rolling cancellations potentially through next Wednesday. David?
All right, Whit, we'll be watching here this weekend. Thank you. Also breaking at this hour, a massive protest against President Trump's immigration crackdown in Minnesota. Tens of thousands in the streets at this hour, hundreds of businesses shutting down in protest over ICE. Matt Rivers in Minneapolis tonight.
Tonight, a citywide protest against ICE in Minneapolis.
Immigrants are welcome here.
Businesses and schools closing as more than 20,000 people braved the brutal cold to fill downtown, the largest march since protests began. Hundreds descended on the Minneapolis airport, demanding ICE leave the city.
So you can see here protesters being arrested here at the Minneapolis airport, roughly 100 people being taken into custody for blocking this airport road. It's negative 40 degrees with the wind chill out here right now, and yet still protesters out and about with a message, ICE out.
Why was it so important for you to be out here today?
This isn't the world I want to live in.
After 3 protesters were arrested for this demonstration inside a church where one of the pastors is also the director of an ICE field office, the Justice Department now says they will face federal charges for attacking the religious freedom of churchgoers. And tonight, ICE tactics under the microscope. Stop! In Minneapolis, a federal agent seen chasing down this 19-year-old.
What is your name?
Do you have a warrant for this arrest?
Do you have a warrant?
DHS says the young man was here illegally and fled from officers.
You're scaring the kid.
Just let us talk to the kid and we're going to get out of here.
And new tonight, ICE defending its own agents after taking this 5-year-old boy into custody after the local school district said the 5-year-old boy had been detained. ICE saying they cared for the boy while other agents apprehended his father.
My officers did everything they could to reunite him with his family. Tragically, when we approached the door of his residence, the people inside refused to take him in and open the door.
The family lawyer calls that a lie, saying the father and son now being held together at a detention center in Texas. And tonight, growing concern over a new immigration crackdown in Maine. Federal agents yanking a driver out of his car as he tells them he works with the corrections department. The local sheriff blasting ICE.
Folks, that's Bush League policing.
Inside one home in Maine, a resident capturing this threat from an ICE agent at his door.
We're going to come back for your whole family, okay?
No, okay, no problem.
And David, tonight, top ICE officials are defending their actions after being accused of detaining that 5-year-old boy, claiming, quote, "We are experts in dealing with children." David?
Matt Rivers in Minneapolis again tonight. Matt, thank you. Tonight, one of the FBI's most wanted now under arrest. Former Olympic snowboarder Ryan Wedding captured, surrendering to authorities, accused of shipping tons of cocaine into the U.S. Here's Pierre Thomas now.
Tonight, the former Olympian turned alleged drug kingpin, who rose to the top of the FBI's most wanted list, now in U.S. custody, surrounded by top DEA and FBI officials, including Director Kash Patel.
This individual and his organization and the Sinaloa cartel poured narcotics into the streets of North America.
Sources say that 44-year-old Ryan Wedding, who competed in the 2002 Winter Games in Salt Lake City as a snowboarder, turned himself in after days of intense negotiations with Mexican and U.S. officials, surrendering overnight in Mexico City. The FBI claims that Wedding, whose aliases include El Jefe, Giant, and Public Enemy, ran a massive drug trafficking enterprise that allegedly smuggled cocaine to the U.S. and Canada.
Mr. Wedding is also wanted for orchestrating multiple murders of victims and government witnesses.
According to a 2025 grand jury indictment, Wedding issued an order to kill a federal witness who was set to testify against him. That witness shot 5 times in the head while he was eating at a restaurant. Authorities sought Wedding, who's Canadian, for years. Law enforcement officials saying they seized drugs, cash, weapons, and $40 million worth of motorcycles. And this car, which they say is valued at $15 million.
David, law enforcement officials have been hunting for Wedding for years, and there was a $15 million reward for his capture that tells you what a high-value target he was. David?
Pierre Thomas on this tonight. Pierre, thanks so much. Tonight, President Trump igniting a firestorm after what he said about NATO, saying the U.S. has, quote, never needed NATO, saying of the war in Afghanistan after 9/11, they stayed, quote, a little off the front lines. Here's Mary Bruce.
Tonight, anguish and outrage from America's closest NATO allies after President Trump claimed they never really sacrificed on the battlefield to defend the United States.
We've never needed them. We have never really asked anything of them. You know, they'll say they sent some troops to Afghanistan or this or that. And they did. They stayed a little back, a little off the front lines.
The only time NATO countries have been called to defend one of their own was when the United States asked for help after 9/11. Today, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer paid tribute to the more than 450 British soldiers who lost their lives in Afghanistan.
I consider President Trump's remarks to be insulting and frankly appalling.
And a rare statement from Prince Harry, who served 2 tours of duty in Afghanistan. Thousands of lives were changed forever, he wrote. Mothers and fathers buried sons and daughters. Children were left without a parent. Families are left carrying the cost. Those sacrifices deserve to be spoken about truthfully and with respect. Retired Corporal Bruce Moncourt was among the 40,000 Canadian troops who fought alongside the U.S.
I know 13 people that were killed in Afghanistan fighting. I know another 13 that have killed themselves from their time fighting there.
Moncourt himself suffered a brain injury. Tonight, he says he's, quote, enraged by the president's comments. The White House now responding to this outcry, saying the U.S., quote, has done more for NATO than any other country in the alliance has done combined. David.
Mary Bruce again tonight. Mary, thanks. Tonight, the arrests after a judge and his wife were shot through the front door of their home in Indiana. And now we learn one of the suspects was allegedly at their front door just days earlier. Here's Aaron Katursky.
Tonight, 5 days after an Indiana judge and his wife were shot in their home, these 5 people are under arrest, accused of plotting to kill Judge Stephen Meyer to delay the trial of one of the suspects, which was to take place in Judge Meyer's courtroom this week. Meyer and his wife Kimberly are recovering after they were shot through the door Sunday afternoon by a man standing on their front porch with a shotgun.
There was a knock on the door. Someone advised, we have your dog, and then a shot came through the door.
Prosecutors say home surveillance video shows the alleged gunman, 38-year-old Raylan Ferguson, firing multiple shots. Nearby, police say they recovered the gun and the suspect's clothes. Prosecutors say the same man approached Meyer's home days earlier, claiming he was there to deliver food before Meyer said through a closed door he hadn't ordered any. That alleged shooter is now facing attempted murder charges. So is 43-year-old Thomas Moss, who was supposed to stand trial before Judge Meyer this week for a series of violent felonies. Prosecutors say the suspects teamed up to target the judge as part of a concerted effort to impede the proceedings.
David, this shooting raised alarms about judicial security, and tonight Indiana's chief judge is calling it an attack on free society. David?
Aaron Katursky tonight. Aaron, thank you. When we come back here, the former NFL star found stabbed to death. Also, the alarming video right here. Look at this, a UFC fighter collapsing, falling face first just seconds after his weigh-in. Also, a surgeon in court charged with killing his ex-wife and her dentist husband. You know the story. His plea in court tonight. And 4 days after winning the national championship, college football star Fernando Mendoza and what he's revealed. What he said right here on GMA in a moment. Tonight, the alarming moment here, a UFC fighter collapsing on stage after his weigh-in in Las Vegas. Cameron Smotherman stepping off the scale, falling to the floor right there. His coach and medics rushing to his side. He was alert, carried off the stage. No word on the cause. His match now canceled. Former NFL defensive lineman Kevin Johnson was found dead at a homeless encampment in Los Angeles. The medical examiner now saying he suffered stab wounds and blunt head trauma. A murder investigation now underway. Johnson played for the Eagles and the Raiders in the 90s. When we come back tonight, he won the Heisman, then the national championship. What Fernando Mendoza has revealed tonight and what he said right here on GMA Today. To the Index, a surgeon pleading not guilty tonight in the murders of his ex-wife and her dentist husband in Columbus, Ohio. Authorities say Michael McGee killed Monique and Spencer Tepe inside their home last month. He could face life in prison if convicted. Okay, so who is our person of the week? Any guesses? In a moment here.
ABC World News Tonight with David Muir, sponsored by Chewy.
Finally tonight, it's probably pretty obvious, our persons of the week. Tonight, what a week for 22-year-old Fernando Mendoza.
He's going to take off and run, Mendoza!
That incredible pivotal play, the touchdown late in the game.
Touchdown!
The Indiana Hoosiers quarterback leading his team through an undefeated season and making history, winning the National College Football Championship for the first time ever.
Indiana's first national championship!
On GMA this morning, a modest Mendoza.
It has not sunk in yet. We never expected to win the national championship. So having that belief in ourselves and then finally winning it, we made sure to celebrate accordingly.
His parents celebrating too, a constant at his games. Fernando's devotion to his team inspired in large part by his own mother, who is always there in the stands in her wheelchair, battling MS. His father by his mother's side, staying seated so they can cheer together. And it was after accepting the Heisman Trophy this season, Fernando saying his drive comes from watching his mother.
Mommy, this is your trophy as much as it is mine. You've always been my biggest fan. You're my light, you're my why, you're my biggest supporter. Together, you and I are rewriting what people think is possible. I love you.
With his words and his sportsmanship this week, Fernando already inspiring the next generation.
Thank you so much.
Tonight, Mendoza posting this message saying he's updating his LinkedIn.
My LinkedIn status is now open to work, and I am officially declaring for the 2026 NFL Draft.
Joking about it this morning, but saying he's ready.
I'm declaring for the draft, and I'm open to work on LinkedIn.
Yes.
So, I'm not sure how many NFL teams have their LinkedIn, account or profile updated, but hopefully they can search through my resume there. Well, if drafted by any team, I'd be so grateful, and I could only do this with the glory of God, and it would be a dream come true.
Good place to find a job. Glad he updated his LinkedIn. So we choose Fernando Mendoza, the Hoosiers, and his parents, always right there. I'll see you Monday. Good night.
David Muir, the most trusted anchor in America, the most watched anchor in America. Thank you for making World News Tonight with David Muir the #1 newscast in America.